Welcome to another Warcraft audio experience. Today, we are examining the full history of the Cipher of Damnation, a demonic artifact hidden in Shadowmoon Valley during the Burning Crusade, and the orc who chose to destroy it rather than see it used. This is the story of Oronok Torn-heart, his three sons, Illidan Stormrage, and the Pit Lord Cyrukh, and how one weapon meant to strengthen a warlord instead became an act of defiance. If you like these stories, please consider subscribing to the channel and tell us what you'd like to hear next. Let's get into it. When adventurers first entered Shadowmoon Valley during the campaign in Outland, they stepped into the heart of Illidan Stormrage's dominion. Outland itself was the shattered remains of Draenor, torn apart when Ner'zhul's reckless portal magic destabilized the world. The sky above Shadowmoon Valley was fractured, swirling with unstable energies from the twisting nether. Islands of earth floated in defiance of gravity. Fell fire bled from the soil. The land was not dead, but it was wounded. At the center of this region stood the Black Temple, once the Temple of Karabor, now claimed by Illidan after his defeat of Magtheridon. From this fortress, Illidan governed a coalition known as the Illidari, Blood Elves under Kael'thas Sunstrider, Naga led by Lady Vashj, broken Draenei such as Akama, and fell orcs descended from Magtheridon's blood. Illidan's rule in Outland was not chaotic, it was militarized. He was preparing for a war he believed inevitable, a confrontation with Kil'jaeden of the Burning Legion. Every resource in Shadowmoon Valley was bent toward consolidation of power. Demons were not worshipped there. They were bound, enslaved, weaponized. Fell energy flowed through the valley not as uncontrolled corruption, but as infrastructure. Among the many ritual sites dotting the landscape stood the Altar of Damnation, a place of summoning and binding. It was here that powerful demonic entities could be called forth and shackled to Illidan's will. The altar was not ornamental. It was strategic. And somewhere beneath the shadow of this regime lived a former warlock who once embraced the very powers Illidan now sought to control. His name was Oronok Torn-heart. Oronok Torn-heart was not young. By the time of the Burning Crusade, he had lived through the rise and fall of the old horde, through corruption, invasion, and the destruction of his world. Before Draenor became Outland, before the orcs crossed the dark portal, the clans of Draenor were shamanistic. They communed with the spirits. Their power came from elemental balance and ancestral guidance. That changed when Gul'dan rose to prominence. Under Gul'dan and the Shadow Council, many orcs abandoned shamanism in favor of warlock magic, fell sorcery drawn directly from the Burning Legion. Manaroth's blood was offered to the orcish clans, and many drank. Those who accepted the blood became stronger, faster, and more violent. They also became enslaved to demonic influence. Oronok was among those who turned to Fel. The quest texts in Shadowmoon Valley make this clear. Oronok once embraced warlock magic willingly. He was not deceived as some were. He chose power. When the Horde invaded Azeroth, warlocks like Oronok were instrumental in maintaining demonic summoning networks and battlefield superiority. But the cost of that power became evident as the Horde fractured, and eventually as Draenor itself was torn apart. When Ner'zhul opened unstable portals in a desperate attempt to flee Kil'jaeden's grasp, Draenor's foundations ruptured. The planet exploded into fragments. Only portions remained, suspended in the twisting nether as Outland. Survivors were left stranded in a broken world. Some clung to Fel power, others renounced it. Oronok eventually rejected the Legion's influence. Whether this was due to guilt, survival instinct, or simple pragmatism is not stated directly in canon. What is known is that by the time Illidan ruled Shadowmoon, Oronok lived in seclusion at a small farmstead. He did not serve the Legion. He did not openly serve Illidan, but Illidan knew of him, and Illidan entrusted him with something dangerous: the Cipher of Damnation. Illidan had obtained the means to summon Cyrukh the Firelord, a powerful pit lord. Rather than keep the mechanism within the Black Temple, Illidan placed the cipher in Oronok's custody. This decision suggests that Oronok was trusted, at least temporarily, as a capable warlock and ritualist. But Oronok understood something Illidan either ignored or underestimated. No pit lord remains bound forever without consequence. Cyrukh was not a minor demon. He was a commander-class entity of immense destructive capability. Bound, he would be a weapon. Unbound, he would be a catastrophe. Oronok made a decision that defined the rest of his life. He shattered the cipher. Rather than return it to Illidan, he broke it into fragments and hid the pieces among his 3 sons. He did not destroy it completely. Perhaps he could not. But he ensured it could not be used easily. Illidan's forces eventually discovered the betrayal. Oronok did not flee Outland. He remained in Shadowmoon Valley, waiting. And when adventurers arrive during the campaign against Illidan, they find not a triumphant warlock, but a father who believes the past has come due. The Cipher of Damnation was not a relic of the Legion's earliest invasions. It was not an ancient artifact lost to time. It was a constructed instrument, designed for a specific purpose, during a specific moment in Outland's unstable history. To understand why it mattered, one must understand Illidan Stormrage's position during the Burning Crusade. By the time Azeroth's forces entered Outland, Illidan had already defeated Magtheridon and seized the Black Temple. He had broken the Pit Lord's hold over the Fell Orcs and consolidated his own authority across much of the shattered world. But victory did not grant him security. Kil'jaeden still lived. The Burning Legion had not abandoned Outland. It had simply shifted its focus. Demonic forces still operated across the region. In Hellfire Peninsula, in the Netherstorm Maniforges, in the depths of Shadowmoon Valley itself. The Legion's interest in Outland remained strategic. It was a staging ground between worlds, unstable yet valuable. Illidan understood this. His control of Outland was not an end goal. It was preparation. The Illidari was not merely an army. It was a coalition forged under pressure. Blood Elves seeking purpose after the fall of Quel'Thalas. Naga loyal to Lady Vashj and bound to Illidan's cause, broken Draenei desperate for survival, and Fell Orcs whose strength came at a cost. This was not a unified culture. It was a war machine assembled from remnants. In such a structure, strength was currency, and demons, when properly bound, were assets. Pit Lords, in particular, were not ordinary demons. They were generals, enforcers, executioners of the Legion's will. Manaroth himself had led the corruption of the Orcs. Magtheridon had ruled Outland after Draenor's fall. Pit Lords were creatures of command and overwhelming battlefield presence. Cyrukh the Firelord was one such entity. The questline does not elaborate extensively on Cyrukh's past campaigns, but it makes clear that he was powerful enough to warrant binding through an artifact rather than simple summoning. He was not a disposable infernal. He was not a Fell Guard lieutenant. He was a Pit Lord whose power required containment. The Cipher of Damnation functioned as the key to that containment. It was not merely a summoning scroll. It was a ritual device capable of calling Cyrukh into physical manifestation and maintaining control over him. Without it, Cyrukh remained inaccessible. With it, Illidan possessed a weapon capable of devastating force. But binding a Pit Lord is not equivalent to taming one. In Warcraft canon, demons bound to mortal will remain dangerous. They obey through magical constraint, not loyalty. If the constraint weakens, they rebel. If the summoner falters, they exploit. Oronok understood this intimately. As a former warlock of the Old Horde, he had participated in demonic summoning during Azeroth's first invasion. He had seen what happened when control slipped. Warlocks of that era did not treat demons as strategic tools. They treated them as manifestations of raw power. Illidan was different. He was disciplined, calculating. But even discipline has limits when dealing with entities born of the twisting nether. According to Oronok's own account during the questline, Illidan entrusted him with the cipher for safekeeping. This implies several critical truths. First, Oronok was still respected for his ritual knowledge. Second, Illidan did not consider him an immediate threat. Third, the cipher was valuable enough to protect outside the Black Temple itself. Why remove it from the temple? Possibly because the Black Temple was a target. Possibly because Illidan distributed his most dangerous assets to prevent a single catastrophic loss. The quest text does not specify, but the act of entrusting Oronok indicates calculated delegation, not neglect. Oronok chose to betray that trust. He shattered the Cipher of Damnation into fragments. The decision was not framed as rebellion against Illidan's broader war. Oronok does not claim allegiance to the Legion, nor does he position himself as Illidan's enemy in a conventional sense. His concern is specific. Cyrukh cannot be allowed to manifest under Illidan's command. Why? Because power accumulates consequences. Illidan had already reshaped Shadowmoon Valley with fiel industry. The hand of Gul'dan still pierced the sky, a relic of past corruption. The valley was saturated with unstable magic. Another pit lord, even bound, would intensify that instability. Oronok's reasoning appears rooted less in ideology and more in experience. He had once accepted demonic power for strength. He had once believed control was possible. He had seen where that road led. Instead of destroying the cipher outright, something perhaps beyond his ability, Oronok fragmented it and concealed the pieces among his sons. This decision reveals both practicality and tragedy. He did not entrust the fragments to allies outside Illidan's reach. He did not bury them in remote regions. He gave them to his own blood, sons who had chosen to serve Illidan. This was not an act of confidence. It was containment. Each fragment alone was useless. Only combined could they summon Cyrukh. By dividing them among 3 individuals stationed in different sectors of Shadowmoon Valley, Oronok ensured no single retrieval would restore the artifact. But this strategy carried risk. His sons were not neutral actors. They were participants in Illidan's regime. And over time, each of them changed. When adventurers encounter Oronok during the Burning Crusade campaign, he no longer believes the fragments are safe indefinitely. Illidan's forces have begun consolidating resources more aggressively. Patrols increase. Ritual sites intensify activity. The war in Outland is escalating. Oronok's fear is no longer theoretical. If Illidan reclaims the fragments, Cyrukh will be summoned. And if Cyrukh is summoned, Shadowmoon Valley will gain another engine of destruction. The questline shifts at this moment from passive concealment to active intervention. Oronok does not ask players to keep the cipher hidden. He asks them to gather it. This is the paradox at the heart of the story. To prevent Cyrukh from serving Illidan, the cipher must be reassembled and used. The only way to eliminate the weapon is to activate it. This is not recklessness. It is calculated finality. A bound pit lord cannot be destroyed in bound potential. He must be destroyed in manifestation. The Cipher of Damnation was originally meant to strengthen Illidan's dominion. Oronok intends to use it to weaken it. The campaign to retrieve the fragments is not framed as heroic rebellion. It is framed as necessity. Each sun holds one piece. Each sun represents a different outcome of the orcish encounter with fell power. And retrieving those fragments will force Oronok to confront not just Illidan's ambition, but his own legacy. The first fragment of the Cipher of Damnation was held by Gromtor, one of Oronok Torn-heart's 3 sons. Unlike his father, Gromtor had come of age in a world already reshaped by catastrophe. He did not remember Draenor before corruption. He did not witness the slow erosion of shamanistic culture or the rise of Gul'dan from within. His formative years were defined not by spiritual traditions, but by survival in Outland's ruins. By the time Illidan Stormrage claimed the Black Temple, many orcs in Shadowmoon Valley faced a choice: resist and fragment further, or align themselves with the strongest authority available. The Dragonmaw clan chose alignment. Historically, the Dragonmaw were one of the more aggressive clans of the Old Horde. They had once enslaved red dragons in Azeroth during the Second War. After Draenor's destruction, remnants of the clan remained in Outland. During Illidan's campaign against Magtheridon, elements of the Dragonmaw sided with Illidan and were absorbed into the Illidari power structure. In Shadowmoon Valley during the Burning Crusade, the Dragonmaw maintained a presence at Eclipse Point, a fortified outpost under Illidan's control. It was not the most prominent Illidari stronghold, but it was strategically positioned, overseeing terrain routes and supporting regional operations. Gromtor operated within this structure. The questline establishes that Gromtor possessed one fragment of the cipher, entrusted to him by Oronok when the artifact was shattered. At the time, this may have been a protective measure. By the time players encounter the situation, it has become a liability. Gromtor is not introduced as a rogue warlock or fanatic. He is introduced as a soldier within Illidan's domain, one loyal enough to serve, but not depicted as ideologically extreme. His alignment appears pragmatic rather than zealous. However, events at Eclipse Point complicate matters. When players pursue the fragment, they discover that Gromtor has been imprisoned by members of the Dragonmaw clan itself. Internal tensions are evident. The Dragonmaw presence in Shadowmoon is not unified. Rivalries and power struggles persist even within Illidan's coalition. Gromtor's captivity suggests factional distrust. Whether his possession of the fragment was known to his captors is not explicitly detailed, but the situation creates an opportunity. To retrieve the fragment, players must assist in freeing Gromtor from imprisonment. This is not framed as an ideological rescue. It is a tactical necessity. The act of freeing Gromtor does not convert him away from Illidan's cause, nor does it depict him as repentant in the manner of his father. Instead, it restores him to agency long enough for the fragment to be secured. This distinction matters. Gromtor represents a generation of orcs who did not turn away from fell power after Draenor's fall. Unlike Oronok, who expresses regret and fear regarding demonic artifacts, Gromtor operates comfortably within Illidan's militarized structure. Illidan's rule provided order. It provided strength. It offered purpose in a broken world. For many orcs stranded in Outland, that was enough. The Dragonmaw clan under Illidan did not serve the Burning Legion. They served Illidan's independent campaign. From their perspective, binding demons was not submission. It was dominance. This ideological divide is subtle but central to the tension between Oronok and his son. Oronok shattered the cipher because he feared its consequences. Gromtor accepted its fragment because power within Illidan's system required no apology. When the fragment is recovered from Gromtor, it is not accompanied by dramatic reconciliation. There is no scene of father and son embracing. There is no moment of ideological awakening. Instead, the retrieval underscores the distance between them. Gromtor's arc is not about redemption. It is about positioning. He occupies the middle ground among Oronok's sons, neither fully consumed by corruption nor entirely detached from Illidan's authority. His imprisonment by fellow Dragonmaw suggests instability within the clan, but it does not indicate moral collapse. In many ways, Gromtor is the most pragmatic of the three. He survives within Illidan's system because he understands it. He does not question the use of demons as weapons. He does not challenge Illidan's rule. He does not attempt to return to shamanistic traditions. He exists within the present political reality of Shadowmoon Valley. This makes him both useful and tragic. Useful because he can be reached and freed. Tragic because he represents what the orcs of Outland have become. Warriors adapted to perpetual crisis, willing to harness dangerous forces so long as control appears possible. The fragment retrieved from Gromtor is only 1/3 of the cipher, but its recovery signals a turning point in Oronok's plan. The strategy of concealment has failed. The fragments must now be gathered intentionally, and as the campaign moves forward, the ideological spectrum among Oronok's sons becomes clearer. Gromtor stands near the center. He is not spiritually shattered. He is not entirely lost to fell madness. But he is not his father. The generational shift is evident. Oronok's regret stems from memory, from knowing Draenor before corruption, from witnessing the consequences of demonic reliance. Gromtor's worldview, formed after those consequences, had already reshaped reality. To him, fell power is not a betrayal of tradition. It is a tool within an established order. This divide will widen in the chapters that follow. Because if Gromtor represents controlled participation in Illidan's regime, his brothers represent the two extremes beyond him: instability and full immersion. With one fragment secured, the campaign moves deeper into Shadowmoon Valley. The next son is not imprisoned. He is transformed. And retrieving his fragment will require confronting what prolonged exposure to fell influence can become. If Gromtor stood within Illidan's structure as a functioning soldier, Artor existed at its margins. The second fragment of the Cipher of Damnation was held by Artor, son of Oronok. But by the time players encounter him in Shadowmoon Valley, he is no longer fully alive. He is found in the Coilscar Point region, territory controlled by Lady Vash's Naga forces. The Coilscar Naga serve Illidan directly and operate along Shadowmoon's southern coastline. Their presence is militarized and organized, not chaotic. They secure waterways, enforce Illidari control, and oversee ritual operations tied to field industry and arcane infrastructure. Artor's placement within Coilscar territory is not incidental. Unlike the Dragonmaw, who operate openly as part of Illidan's coalition, the Naga function as elite agents. They are loyal to Illidan personally. Their discipline and arcane knowledge make them critical to his rule. That Artor remained near them suggests proximity to concentrated power. But proximity to fell energy has consequences. When adventurers pursue the fragment in Artor's possession, they do not find a warlord commanding troops. They find a being referred to in the quest text as Artor, son of Oronok, the corrupted. He exists in spectral form. His body has been destroyed. His spirit lingers, unstable and hostile. The questline does not provide a detailed account of the exact event that led to his transformation, but his condition speaks clearly. Prolonged exposure to foul forces, Naga operations, and Shadowmoon's unstable energies has left him spiritually fractured. Artor is not presented as a strategic asset of Illidan's regime. He's not described as a lieutenant or a commander. Instead, he appears as collateral damage, a byproduct of sustained engagement with powers that erode stability over time. This distinction is critical. Illidan's use of demons is controlled at the highest levels. Rituals at the Black Temple and Altar of Damnation are structured. Bindings are deliberate. But not every individual within his domain operates under those conditions. Shadowmoon Valley is saturated with fell residue, arcane distortions, and lingering Legion influence. Those who remain too long within its most volatile regions risk physical and spiritual degradation. Artor is an example of that degradation. Unlike Gromtor, whose loyalty to Illidan is intact and whose imprisonment stemmed from political tension, Artor's fall is internal. He is not captured by rivals. He is undone by corruption. When players confront him, there is no negotiation. His spectral form attacks on sight. This is not framed as tragic reunion or moral reckoning. It is presented as a necessary confrontation to recover the fragment he carries. Artor's fragment of the cipher is not safeguarded through military rank or clan allegiance. It remains with him because he never relinquished it, even as his body failed. In this, Artor differs sharply from both his father and his brother. Oronok rejected fell power after witnessing its cost. Gromtor functions within Illidan's militarized order, apparently unaffected beyond ideological alignment. Artor, however, demonstrates what happens when the balance collapses. He neither rejects power nor masters it. He is consumed by proximity. Shadowmoon Valley itself reinforces this theme. The region is not merely Illidan's capital. It is layered with older corruption. The Hand of Gul'dan still dominates the skyline, a massive spire formed by Gul'dan's own death during the Tomb of Sargeras expedition. The valley's soil has absorbed decades of demonic ritual. Legion holdouts still operate from fortified enclaves. Even under Illidan's rule, Shadowmoon is unstable. Artor's transformation into a spectral being reflects that instability. In Warcraft lore, the separation of spirit from body through violent magical means is not uncommon. Warlocks, necromancers, and field ritualists routinely experiment with such forces. The result is rarely stable. Spirits bound unwillingly often become hostile echoes, driven by rage, confusion, or residual magical imprint. Artor's condition aligns with this pattern. He is not described as willingly becoming undead. He is not depicted as choosing spectral form. He is simply found in that state, aggressive, corrupted, and irrecoverable. To retrieve the fragment, players must destroy what remains of him. There is no alternative presented in the questline. This is perhaps the darkest aspect of Oronok's story. He did not simply hide fragments among his sons. He anchored part of his plan to individuals living within Illidan's sphere of influence. Over time, one son adapted. Another deteriorated. Artor's destruction is not framed as heroic victory. It is framed as inevitability. The fragment is recovered from his defeated spirit. No cleansing ritual restores him. No redemption arc follows. He is removed as an obstacle. From a historical perspective, Artor represents the cost of prolonged instability in Outland. After Drainer's destruction, surviving orcs did not rebuild a cohesive society. They fractured into enclaves aligned with whoever could offer structure. Illidan's rule provided that structure, but it did not erase environmental corruption. Those operating at the edges of his regime, particularly in Naga-controlled zones heavy with arcane manipulation, faced compounded exposure to dangerous forces. Artor was not protected by rank or influence. He existed close enough to power to be affected, but not elevated enough to be shielded. Thematically, his fall sits between his brother's paths. Tor remains functional within Illidan's war machine. Borak, whose story comes next, embraces fell power fully and intentionally. Tor occupies the middle ground between those extremes, neither controlled nor empowered, but destabilized. His existence also reinforces Oronok's fear regarding the Cipher of Damnation. If a fragment alone can remain intact through such transformation, what would a full manifestation of Cyrukh produce? A Pit Lord's presence amplifies fell energies dramatically. If Tor could not survive proximity to Illidan's infrastructure, Shadowmoon Valley would not remain unchanged by the arrival of a bound Pit Lord. Oronok's earlier decision to shatter the cipher gains weight here. This was not abstract caution. It was experiential. He had seen suns shaped by the world he helped create. When Tor's fragment is secured, 2/3 of the cipher are reunited. But the cost is cumulative. Oronok now knows one sun is dead beyond recovery. Another remains loyal to Illidan's system. And the third, Borak, stands at the farthest extreme. The retrieval of Tor's fragment shifts the emotional trajectory of the campaign. It is no longer simply about preventing Illidan from gaining another weapon. It is about containment of legacy. Oronok's past, as a warlock who embraced fell power, did not end with his rejection of it. It shaped his son's environment. It shaped their choices. And in Tor's case, it shaped his destruction. With 2 fragments secured, only one remains. And unlike Tor's political entanglement or Tor's unstable corruption, Borak represents conscious alignment with demonic power. The final retrieval will not involve rescue. It will require confrontation with a son who did not fall by accident. By the time 2 fragments of the Cipher of Damnation have been reclaimed, the pattern among Oronok's sons is visible. One remained a soldier within Illidan's structure. One became unstable under sustained corruption. The third chose his path fully. Borak, son of Oronok, does not occupy the political middle ground of the Dragon Maw, nor the unstable outskirts of Coilscar territory. He is found deeper within Shadowmoon Valley, in regions saturated with demonic presence and Illidari enforcement. Unlike Tor, Borak is not diminished. He is empowered. The questline presents Borak as fully aligned with fell power and with Illidan's dominion. He is not described as conflicted. He is not portrayed as reluctant. His allegiance appears intentional and complete. This distinction matters. Warcraft lore often distinguishes between corruption imposed and corruption embraced. Many orcs drank Manaroth's blood under pressure from clan leaders or through manipulation by Gul'dan. Others did so eagerly, seeing strength as justification enough. Borak's characterization aligns with the latter pattern. By the time players encounter him, Borak is not a captive or collateral casualty. He stands as an active participant in the regime his father distrusts. The exact details of Borak's rise are not elaborated extensively in quest text, but his positioning implies status and confidence. He commands territory. He defends the fragment directly. He does not appear surprised by confrontation. Where Tor required extraction and Tor required destruction, Borak requires direct defeat. Shadowmoon Valley's southern regions contain heavy fell fortifications, demonic patrols, and Illidari structures. Borak's presence within this network reinforces his ideological commitment. He is not hiding, he is entrenched. To understand the difference between Borak and his brothers, one must examine the broader cultural shift among the orcs of Outland. After Draenor shattered, many orcs lost the possibility of restoration. The shamanistic traditions of pre-corruption Draenor were not easily revived in a broken world infused with nether energies. For some, Illidan's militarized regime offered a continuation of strength without submission to the Legion. But Illidan's dominion still relied on field power. The difference was control. Oronok believed that control over demonic forces was temporary. Borak appears to believe it is sustainable. This generational divergence is central. Oronok's regret stems from lived experience with demonic influence spiraling beyond intent. Borak's worldview formed in the aftermath of catastrophe. To him, fell power is not a betrayal of a stable past. It is part of the present reality of Outland. When confronted, Borak does not express doubt in quest text. He does not show hesitation. The fragment remains in his possession because he sees no reason to relinquish it. If Illidan is building strength to resist Kil'jaeden, then empowering Illidan aligns with survival. In this, Borak represents the pragmatic extreme of Outland's orcs. If power exists, use it. If demons can be bound, bind them. If the alternative is weakness, choose strength. The cost is secondary. This philosophy mirrors the mindset of the old Horde during its initial corruption. Gul'dan offered power to clans facing stagnation and resource scarcity. The promise of dominance outweighed the unseen consequences. Borak's position echoes that historical moment. Unlike his father, who now fears escalation, Borak views escalation as necessary. The confrontation between player and Borak is not framed as ideological debate. It is combat. This absence of moral discourse is telling. The questline does not present Borak as misunderstood. It does not attempt to redeem him. It presents him as an obstacle to the retrieval of the final fragment. He fights. He falls. The third piece of the cipher is reclaimed. With Borak's defeat, Oronok loses more than a son aligned against him. He loses the last possibility that one of his children might fully reject the path he once walked. Tor may survive within Illidan's structure. Our Tor has already been destroyed. Borak's defeat severs the final thread of familial continuity. From a narrative perspective, this is the culmination of Oronok's earlier choice. When he shattered the cipher and distributed its fragments among his sons, he believed separation would preserve safety. Instead, it bound their futures to the artifact's fate. Each son embodied a different outcome of demonic proximity. Tor, structured participation. Artor, destabilized corruption. Borak, full immersion. Together, they represent the spectrum of Outland's orcs under Illidan's rule. Borak's deliberate embrace of fell power also reinforces the stakes surrounding Cyrukh. If individual orcs can accept demonic strength as a permanent condition, what prevents Illidan from doing the same at a greater scale? Illidan's stated objective during the Burning Crusade is resistance against the Burning Legion. He positions himself as preparing for Kil'jaeden's return. His methods are harsh but strategic. However, every bound demon increases reliance on fell infrastructure. Every summoning intensifies environmental strain. Cyrukh would not be symbolic. He would be escalation embodied. A pit lord under Illidan's command would represent a visible declaration that Outland's defense would mirror the Legion's tactics directly. Oronok's decision to retrieve and reassemble the cipher is now unavoidable. The concealment phase is over. 2 sons are dead or lost beyond reconciliation. One remains within Illidan's structure but no longer holds a fragment. The cipher is whole again, but only because Oronok chose to reclaim it. There is an irony here that the questline does not dramatize, but clearly implies. Oronok once embraced fell magic willingly. His sons grew up in a world shaped by that decision. Now he must reassemble a demonic artifact to destroy the very kind of entity he once would have summoned without hesitation. The fragments are returned to him. The cipher is restored. But it is not returned to Illidan. Instead, Oronok proposes the final step. Cyrukh must be summoned, not to serve, but to be eliminated. This is not redemption. It is containment. The Altar of Damnation waits in Shadowmoon Valley, still active under Illidan's regime. It was meant to call forth a weapon for his war. Instead, it will become the site of removal. And in doing so, Oronok commits to a path that risks exposing his betrayal fully. If Illidan learns that the cipher was shattered and reclaimed for destruction rather than empowerment, the consequences could extend beyond a single ritual. But by this point in the campaign, that risk is secondary. Borok's fall confirms what Oronok already suspected. Fell power does not fade quietly, it escalates. The Cipher of Damnation was created to escalate. Now, it will be used to end that possibility. With all 3 fragments recovered, the Cipher of Damnation could once again function as intended. The act of reassembly is not treated in the questline as ceremonial. It is procedural. Oronok possesses the knowledge required to restore the artifact's integrity. As a former warlock of the old Horde, he understands ritual construction, demonic binding, and summoning frameworks. The same experience that once made him valuable to the Horde and later useful to Illidan now allows him to reverse the trajectory of the artifact's purpose. The cipher was never designed as a passive relic. Its structure existed solely to summon Cyrukh the Firelord and bind him into physical. To restore the cipher marks. A shift from to restore the cipher marks, a shift from concealment to confrontation. The logic is direct. Cyrukh cannot be destroyed while inaccessible. A pit lord bound in potential remains a threat if the key to his summoning exists. As long as the cipher survives in fragmentary form, Illidan, or any sufficiently knowledgeable warlock within his ranks, could reconstruct it. Destruction requires activation. This is consistent with Warcraft's broader depiction of demonic entities. Demons tied to the twisting nether reform upon death unless killed in specific conditions. In Outland's case, physical manifestation allows permanent destruction. Cyrukh, once summoned, can be defeated in material space. Oronok understands this. The Altar of Damnation, located in central Shadowmoon Valley, is chosen as the ritual site. The altar is already attuned to large-scale summoning magic. It has hosted fuel rituals under Illidan's authority. Its infrastructure supports the level of energy required to draw a pit lord into the physical realm. The decision to use the altar carries risk. Illidan's forces operate in Shadowmoon Valley continuously. The Black Temple looms nearby. Patrols move between outposts. Fell Reavers traverse Hellfire Peninsula to the north. The valley is not isolated territory. Conducting a ritual at the Altar of Damnation means operating within Illidan's sphere of influence, not outside it. But there is strategic clarity in this choice. The altar is already configured for binding a pit lord. Attempting to summon Cyrukh elsewhere would increase instability and reduce control. The objective is not merely summoning. It is summoning under conditions that allow immediate engagement and defeat. Oronok's role in this phase is defined by necessity, not emotion. The quest text reflects his awareness of the gravity of the act. He does not celebrate the restoration of the cipher. He treats it as a final measure. There is no suggestion that he believes Cyrukh can be redeemed, reasoned with, or contained safely, long-term. Cyrukh must be destroyed. The campaign to the Altar of Damnation unfolds as preparation rather than spectacle. Forces in the region must be cleared. The site must be secured. The ritual space must be controlled long enough for Cyrukh to manifest. This is not a reckless summoning. It is deliberate. In Warcraft canon, pit lords are not mindless brutes. They are intelligent commanders with tactical awareness. Cyrukh's arrival would not be passive. Once called, he would recognize both opportunity and threat. The binding effect of the cipher would force manifestation, but the moment of summoning would be volatile. At this stage of the story, several themes converge. Illidan's strategy has relied on controlled escalation, binding demons to strengthen his war effort against the Legion. Oronok's experience has taught him that escalation accumulates cost. His son's trajectories reinforce this principle. Gromtor adapted. Artor destabilized. Borak embraced fully. Cyrukh represents escalation beyond individual corruption. He represents structural amplification. A bound pit lord in Shadowmoon Valley would not merely reinforce Illidan's army, he would alter the balance of power within Outland. The ritual is therefore both tactical and symbolic. It removes a weapon from Illidan's arsenal. It prevents further intensification of Fell's saturation in the valley. And it closes the chapter Oronok began when he first shattered the cipher. The moment before summoning carries weight precisely because of restraint. There is no dramatic speech recorded in quest text. No overt declaration of rebellion against Illidan. The act is framed as prevention, not uprising. Oronok does not attempt to overthrow Illidan. He attempts to limit him. This distinction is crucial for maintaining lore accuracy. During the Burning Crusade, Illidan is not portrayed as a Legion's servant. He is a rogue power consolidating strength to resist Kil'jaeden. His methods are severe and morally ambiguous, but they are directed towards survival. Oronok's actions do not align with the Legion. They simply reject one layer of Illidan's escalation. With the cipher restored and preparations complete, the ritual begins. Energy gathers at the altar of damnation. The artifact channels its purpose. The summoning sequence activates. Cyrukh the Firelord is called into physical form. The final phase begins. The altar of damnation was not designed for subtle magic. It was constructed for magnitude. When the Cipher of Damnation is activated, the ritual does not unfold quietly. The altar channels full energy outward, forming a gateway through which Cyrukh the Firelord is drawn into physical reality. This is not a simple summoning circle etched into stone. It is a controlled rupture and enforced manifestation. Cyrukh is a pit lord. Within Warcraft lore, pit lords are towering demonic commanders originally created by Sargeras to serve as generals of the Burning Legion. They are creatures of immense physical strength and considerable magical capability. Manaroth corrupted the orcs. Magtheridon ruled Outland after Drainer's destruction. These were not mindless beasts. They were architects of conquest. Cyrukh belongs to that lineage. The questline does not describe his full campaign history, but his classification alone establishes his scale. A pit lord bound within Shadowmoon Valley would represent one of the most powerful entities under Illidan's command. The ritual forces Cyrukh into corporeal presence. At this moment, several dynamics intersect. First, the cipher compels manifestation. Cyrukh does not arrive by invitation, he is drawn through magical enforcement. Second, his presence destabilizes the immediate area. Pit lords carry innate fides, energy, and their manifestation radiates destructive force. Third, his binding is incomplete in purpose. The cipher was originally intended to bind Cyrukh into service under Illidan's authority. But this summoning has a different objective. It is not to enslave him for deployment. It is to destroy him before he can be weaponized. The distinction changes the engagement. Once summoned, Cyrukh is hostile. He is not reasoned with. He does not negotiate. He is confronted directly and defeated in battle. The encounter itself, as depicted in the questline, is straightforward in structure. Cyrukh fights with the physical and fell-based capabilities expected of a pit lord. His size, strength, and demonic power make him a formidable adversary. But he is alone. He is not backed by Legion reinforcements. He is not part of a larger invasion wave. He is a single entity drawn into physical form. This isolation is intentional. Oronok's plan depends on limiting variables. Summon the Pit Lord under controlled conditions. Eliminate him before external forces intervene. Remove the threat permanently. In Warcraft cosmology, demons slain outside the twisting nether can reform unless destroyed under specific circumstances. However, Outland exists partially within the nether's influence. Many demons defeated there experience permanent death due to the nature of the realm's instability. Cyrukh's defeat at the Altar of Damnation is presented as final. With his destruction, the purpose of the Cipher collapses. There is no longer a Pit Lord to summon. The artifact, once a strategic asset, becomes inert in function. From a military perspective, this act denies Illidan a significant reinforcement. A bound Pit Lord would have bolstered his position in Shadowmoon Valley, particularly as pressure mounted from Azeroth's invading forces and the Legion's ongoing interest in Outland. From a symbolic perspective, the act represents something quieter. Illidan's strategy throughout, Outland relies on harnessing fell power without submitting to it. He binds demons rather than serving them. He reshapes infrastructure around controlled corruption. Oronok's intervention does not dismantle Illidan's regime. The Black Temple still stands. The Illidari still operate. The Altar of Damnation remains active for other rituals. But one escalation is removed. The destruction of Cyrukh narrows the field of potential catastrophe. Importantly, this event does not trigger open war between Oronok and Illidan within the questline. There is no recorded retaliation specific to this act. The broader campaign against Illidan continues through separate chains, culminating in the assault on the Black Temple. The Cipher's storyline remains contained. Cyrukh's defeat closes the immediate arc without overturning the larger political structure of Shadowmoon Valley. This restraint reinforces the grounded tone of the questline. Not every act in Warcraft shifts the balance of worlds. Some acts simply prevent further deterioration. With Cyrukh destroyed, Oronok's objective is achieved. The Cipher, once shattered to prevent misuse, has fulfilled its final function. Its fragments brought together not to empower a warlord, but to eliminate a threat. For Oronok, the outcome is neither triumphant nor restorative. Two sons are dead. One remains aligned with Illidan. The past remains unchanged. But one weapon no longer exists. And in a valley defined by accumulation of fell power, subtraction carries weight. The destruction of Cyrukh the Firelord did not change the skyline of Shadowmoon Valley. The Black Temple still loomed over the land. Illidan Stormrage remained in command. The Illidari continued their operations across Outland, consolidating power, repelling Legion remnants, and preparing for larger conflict. The Altar of Damnation did not collapse when Cyrukh fell. It did not cease functioning. It remained what it had always been, a site of fell ritual within a massive region already saturated by corruption. In purely strategic terms, the elimination of Cyrukh removed a potential reinforcement from Illidan's arsenal. A bound Pit Lord would have represented significant battlefield strength. Without him, Illidan's forces remained formidable, but not amplified by that additional power. But the questline does not frame this event as a decisive turning point in the war for Outland. It is narrower than that. The Cipher of Damnation story is not about overthrowing Illidan, it is about interruption. Oronok Torn-heart did not attempt to dismantle Illidan's regime. He did not gather allies to challenge the Black Temple directly. He did not position himself as a leader of resistance. He acted to prevent escalation. This restraint defines his legacy. When players first meet Oronok at his farm in Shadowmoon Valley, he is not portrayed as a warlord in exile. He is a farmer, living quietly beneath the shadow of the structure that once trusted him with dangerous power. His past as a warlock of the old horde cannot be erased. The corruption he once embraced contributed to the destruction of Draenor and the reshaping of his world into Outland. That history remains. The fate of his sons reinforces that continuity. Gromtor survives within Illidan's military order. He adapts to the new structure of power in Shadowmoon Valley. He does not reject Feel influence. He functions within it. Artor is destroyed, a casualty of prolonged instability and corruption. Borak is defeated, having fully embraced demonic power as a means of strength. Together, their trajectories reflect the fragmented state of Orcish identity in Outland. There is no unified return to pre-corruption tradition. There is no restoration of Drainor's shamanistic culture. There are only variations of adaptation within a broken world. Oronok's decision to shatter the cipher initially, and later to restore it for the purpose of destroying Cyrukh, stands apart from these trajectories. He does not attempt to undo the past. He does not claim purity. He does not deny that he once valued fell power. Instead, he chooses limitation. This is significant within Warcraft's broader depiction of power. Throughout the franchise, characters often pursue strength through escalation. The old horde drank demon blood to conquer. Arthas embraced Frostmourne to defeat Mal'Ganis. Illidan harnessed fell magic to oppose the Legion. Cael'thas sought demonic alliances to save his people. Escalation is a recurring pattern. The Cipher of Damnation represents one instance where escalation is deliberately halted. Oronok had the knowledge to restore the artifact and return it to Illidan. Doing so would have reaffirmed his value within the regime. It may have even secured protection or status. Instead, he accepted risk. Summoning Cyrukh without Illidan's sanction could have exposed him as a saboteur. Destroying a potential weapon could have drawn retaliation. The questline does not dramatize consequences beyond Cyrukh's defeat, but the implication remains. Oronok acted against the interests of Shadowmoon's ruling power. And yet, Illidan's broader campaign continues uninterrupted. This outcome reinforces the contained scale of the story. The Burning Crusade expansion ultimately culminates in the assault on the Black Temple and Illidan's defeat at the hands of Azeroth's champions. That confrontation is driven by larger geopolitical forces. Cael'thas's betrayal, Legion manipulation, and Illidan's consolidation of power across Outland. The Cipher of Damnation is not the catalyst for that fall. It is a footnote within the larger conflict. But it is a meaningful one, because it illustrates a different approach to power within the same environment. Illidan sought to wield demons strategically. Oronok sought to remove one from the equation entirely. Both actions were responses to the same reality, the Burning Legion's looming threat. One chose expansion of arsenal, the other chose reduction of risk. From a historical standpoint, the Cipher storyline deepens Shadowmoon Valley's portrayal as more than a battlefield. It is a landscape shaped by layered corruption. Gul'dan's legacy, Legion remnants, Illidan's militarization, and the scattered remnants of Orcish clans trying to survive within it. Oronok embodies that layered history. He is not innocent. He is not heroic in a conventional sense. He is experienced. His fear of Cyrukh is not theoretical. It is informed by participation in past corruption. In this way, the destruction of Cyrukh becomes less about preventing Illidan's victory and more about preventing repetition. The old horde believed it could control demon blood. It could not. Illidan believes he can control bound pit lords. perhaps he can. But Oronok is no longer willing to assume control will hold indefinitely. When the cipher is rendered functionless by Cyrukh's destruction, it ceases to be a threat. The artifact that once symbolized escalation becomes an empty shell, and Oronok returns to his farm. Shadowmoon Valley does not heal. The sky remains fractured. Fell structures continue to operate. But one pit lord will never march under Illidan's banner. In the vast scale of Warcraft's wars, this is a small event. In the life of Oronok Torn-heart, it is the final correction he can make. He cannot restore Draenor. He cannot reclaim his sons. He cannot erase the warlock he once was. But he can ensure that one weapon born of that era is never used. The Cipher of Damnation was designed to bind power. In the end, it was used to end it. And in a land where power so often accumulates without restraint, that decision carries its own quiet weight. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy deep dives into Warcraft's history, the forgotten questlines, the tragic figures, and the darker corners of Azeroth and Outland, consider subscribing to the channel. There is always another story waiting beneath the surface. Until next time, farewell.